94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, here we are at 25 minutes to the top of the hour. Fanya Mambo Kinuthia is our guest this hour. And we're looking at the Ruto-Raila power axis and what it actually means for Kenyans. You had a question as we're going to.
Well, you know, I like the way Fanya Mambo has analyzed the situation as he sees. And he has labeled our president the party killer, the person who destroys other parties. It's a narrative that I actually find to be false. Because it isn't as though he goes around putting a gun to people's head and saying, you must join my party. Those people join willingly. Which tells you that every political party we have in this country is not a political party, it's a business entity, it's a business unit. It's where people conduct business. Our politics is business, purely business. Because if it were a party, let me inverse it, all right? Look at a business entity like, say, a bank. Banks have a clear understanding of the relationship they have with their customers. And they will tell you what they can do for you, what they can offer you, and how they will offer it, and on what terms, and the details are there. And all you need to do is to go to a bank, and you will find that the things that they tell you are the things that actually happen. Now, political parties have a manifesto. All of them. And in that manifesto, they outline for you what they're going to do. Mm. You very rarely see any of those things that they promise getting done. Very rarely. And yet, at the heart of it is that the economy that they're purporting to want to lead will be a better place for people to live in. Better means economically it will be better, basic needs will be met, and the citizens will at least feel that their lives are being taken care of. There'll be security and everything else. That doesn't happen. Beyond the words that we keep hearing, why I call it a business is, every time you look at our politicians and the way they go about their lives definitely keep getting better monetarily. They get wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. Mm. So when one talks about a party, when one talks about governance, I think I would be of the view that I will ask, which of these business managers, because that's what these political leaders are, which of these business leaders is able to manage this country better than the other? And I would not look at the promises, I would look at the ability to actually manage. How do these people conduct business? Because that is what our politics is. It's not anything else, it's a business. And all our political parties are business entities.
I think picking it up from there, the first thing I think is that ODM seriously owes Jalango an apology. The ODM party. Mm. Okay. They owe Jalas an apology. Please, in fact, the first thing they need to do is Sifuna, where are you? You are the people who were saying you're going to discipline the Jalango. I think Jalango saw things before you did. He chose to work with government, and they really castigated him for that, and they told him you cannot work with government, you cannot continue. Okay, Kenya Kwanza administration is horrible, it's a bad place to be, you can't work with them. So Jalango had actually to withdraw and start pulling back. Even he voted no for the finance bill. Only for those people who were telling him that Kenya Kwanza administration is bad, you can't work with it, to go into bed with it and actually join cabinet. I mean, some of the people are the party leaders, Akina John Badi, who were telling Jalango, we are going to discipline you and you'll go through disciplinary organs of the party. So what were they disturbing Jalango for? They need to pay him. They need to compensate him. They need to hug him for having seen where they are going. I mean, he got there before them. They were just jealous that he got there before them.
The problem is not Jalango going to the government, but going alone to the government and leaving the rest of the...
Does it matter?
It looks like it matters.
It's a principle. Look here.
Like it matters.
You cannot come and tell us that Ruto is bad and his administration is bad and that his administration is horrible. And that so if one person joins that bad administration, that person is bad. But if we all join the bad administration, then it is okay.
Then talk to us about political sanity. One, as a lawyer. Two, as an aspiring politician. You're going to be in a party if you're not going to be an independent candidate. How would you want your party to behave? How would you want your party to look at that time that you don't form a government and you're in a minority party and you'd really wish to work for your party? How do you want your party to behave? Flip the coin and become the Jalango, and your party that will sponsor you wherever you run becomes your party sponsor then. And then they want this political sanity. and you leave alone to distort all that. So as a lawyer, explain to us that, and then also as a politician, explain to us how you'd want your party at that time to behave.
I think I want a party that does not wake up and say that you're a bad person, and then after 3 weeks when you make me an offer, you're a good person. If I start as a political party saying that so-and-so is incapable of running a government, let us stick to that narrative for the 5 years. That's the principle. I stuck with Jubilee even when it lost elections. I had the option of moving to Kenya Kwanza. And of course, with the many media shows I've been doing, how many offers do you think we've gotten? Just to be told, come here, we'll make you this, speak on behalf of... And I'm not interested. I don't want. We have to be people who have a spine. We have to be people who have, who are able to make decisions that are meaningful. You cannot wake up one day and say Kenya Kwanza is bad, and then the following day, you come and say now Kenya Kwanza has become good. Even the voters are confused. Can you imagine how many bloggers were online fighting Ruto on the side of ODM, and now they are being told, now we're in government, can you stop now fighting the president?
Change your narrative.
It's confusing.
Talk to me about an individual, you,
Yes.
and political sanity. Forget about that, because we understand even before ODM started working with Kenya Kwanza, there was a parliamentary group meeting that was convened at JOF, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Foundation, and they ratified that decision. Although the other Azimio principals say that they were not informed. They came to learn about it in the media, and they were called to be told of that decision. Right? At the end of the day, there has to be political sanity.
I think you don't understand how that thing happened. The relationship between Raila Odinga and William Ruto can be compared to a man who was given a post-dated check. And he was told, I want you to bank this check after next week when I come from Dubai. So Raila Odinga wrote a check. It had 4 names of the people who are in cabinet right now. And he told William Ruto, I'm giving you this post-dated check. And I want to go to Dubai. And when I come back from Dubai, you're going to bank this check. The minute Raila took to the skies, hata hakuwa amefika Somalia, William Ruto went and banked the check. And so in the morning, Raila Odinga is being told, your people are already in government, they've been appointed. I think they had thought of a more structured way to have that conversation before these people were announced. But our president, being the person he is, he's a very good politician. He banked the check, and Raila was getting a notification on his phone. Oh, your account has been debited with 4 names. Money has left your account.
Okay. You also believe what you're saying?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
That is what happened.
Yes, and I can tell you, for free, that still the arrangement is bad. And this marriage will not last long. This will be, you remember the merger, it will be equivalent of the same. By the time Raila Amolo Odinga is going to leave, he's going to leave with half of that government. He will leave with more. The way he left with Saitotis, he's done it before, and this is just history going to repeat himself. Okay. He's going to leave this government with more people, and he's going to leave this government wounded.
But you are the same person who's told us that William Ruto effectively has sorted out his 2027 election
in his imagination.
No, you didn't talk about imagination.
I'll explain why.
You made a point of fact from where you sit.
Yes.
So suddenly, it will not work, and Raila Odinga is going to leave. So
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why it will not work.
Yes.
From where they sit in their generation, they have been talking of blocks, the Western vote, the Nyanza vote, I don't know, Kisii vote. And now, the millennials and Gen Zs are reminding them that the people between the age of 18 and 40 on the IEBC voter register are 16 million. That we who are between 18 and 40 are 16 million on that voter register, the IEBC voter register. And whether you register more or not, we have 16 million votes that we are not going to cast based on our tribes and based on where we come from. So as you make your tribal arithmetic, the people between 18 and 40, who are 16 million of them, have decided that they are not going to vote on tribal lines. And that's why you see when a young man from Kisii region wakes up and starts pointing fingers at how projects are being launched left, right, and center, he finds support. People are now looking for a person they can believe in, a person who they think can fulfill their promises. And I can tell you, the whole political class in 2027 is probably all going home. Don't ask me who will replace them. But Kenyans are saying they would rather vote for someone who's never been seen on the scene than return these people.
But I have to ask, and for me, I mean, it's no secret that I'm always going to ask about what happens to the people, because the imagination is that when people go to the vote, what they're looking for is somebody who will be given the reins of power to govern over a people and its resources in a way that is going to benefit their livelihoods and benefit the country as a whole. That is by the time you're going to vote, you're going to say, maybe this person's going to do it better. Maybe somebody's going to bring about something that is actually going to lurch us forward, right?
Yeah.
What happens to them? It seems to be that is never the center of conversation, which for me, the people should be at the center of governance. It doesn't matter how you look at it, doesn't matter how thin you slice it, it doesn't matter. That the problems that we are looking at today, I mean, just look at the front pages that we're talking about today. Education, in a crisis. Health, let's not even go there. Infrastructure in the country, we're being told by people that money that was spent for projects all over the place, nowhere. Those are the realities. Just the other week, last week, we had a conversation about how we're going into the drier months. What's being done to ensure that, people will have food, sustained resources over time. So while we focus on this power axis, that people's egos have been well oiled and you're getting into this new marriage and et cetera, one would think that the direct benefactors of that marriage would be the people of Kenya and that things are going to be better. But I mean, from what the picture that you're painting, it is clear that Kenyans' desires, Kenyans' needs do not feature here whatsoever. Should we focus on that, or should we focus on the demand for citizen-centered governance?
Kenyans told me the other day that Raila Amolo Odinga in his manifesto had promised people that if he became president, he would give 6,000 shillings a month. So they were saying he's got maybe a third of government. So why can't they start giving 2,000 shillings at least to the Kenyans instead of the 6,000 first, so that we see? The Kenya Kwanza manifesto was clear. It was the simplest manifesto I've ever come across in the whole world. Hatupangwingwi. So that is amorphous. It can mean anything from we will give you a horrible finance bill to we will beat you up to you will find bodies anywhere.
It could be anything.
It could be anything. Hatupangwingwi. So when you combine Hatupangwingwi with a diminishing 6,000, I think hata wakifanya 2,000 shillings, Kenyans will be happy. There is nothing about Kenyans in this whole scenario. That is the unfortunate
Kenyans don't
thing.
feature here?
Where do you see them featuring? Okay. Have you had, because if they were...
I do see them featuring. I do see them featuring in the protests. Mm-hmm. I do see them featuring in saying enough is enough. Mm-hmm. The narrative that we are looking for a certain type of person must also cease. Because that person doesn't exist.
I am here.
No, you don't. People who exist in that sphere are people who are able to conform to accountability. And that doesn't happen because they are good people. It happens when we have an accountability mechanism that is strong.
When the institutions work.
Yes, that keeps people in check. Believing in the goodness of man will lead us nowhere. That is not what you should premise. Somebody should have the fundamental building blocks and you say, okay, but the primary building blocks that you need for what we're talking about is a system and people who ensure that they hold their leaders to account. If political leaders are not held to account, it doesn't matter how good they start. Something will go rotten at some point.
I'm reminded of Ababu Namwamba when you speak about that. Look at where he started. A lot of all these members of parliament, most of them stood for something.
There's a promise.
Something happens along the way and things change. This promise you have in your heart, it just changes somehow. And things change totally and you become just a politician.
I think we are getting it wrong.
How so?
Kenya has got more than 600 acts of parliament. We are drowning in laws. Our constitution is way bigger than the American constitution. Mm-hmm. What we have done is we are having bad manners. And we are thinking we are going to cure bad manners by creating new laws. So you find the penal code is enough to punish every crime in this country. But then you have the Anti-Corruption Commission, then you create all sorts of laws because you want to deal with the theft of public resources. I have told you, France held the election the other day. You should have seen their ballot paper. a simple paper almost with no security features. And there's no mad Frenchman who will come and vote more than once.
Why you said it? Why?
I'll tell you why. Now, here in the country, and mind you, they are not putting all those controls and measures, and they are saying, here in the country, you can imagine if we had a simple ballot paper that can be printed on River Road, an MCA would get 5 million votes. So what we are trying to do is to say that the problem sometimes is not in the law. And every time you make a law in Kenya, people try to circumvent it. We have so many laws. We even came up with public procurement to be done online. People have brought that system down. We tried making sure that all our land system is on the digital platform. They usually make sure that system is down. You come up, NTSA, a very good system. Right now, Teams loses 15 billion one night like it's a sneeze in the air.
No biggie.
No biggie. So the thing is, we have bad manners. And no matter how many laws, and I can tell you, Parliament can sit there and come up with 300,000 laws to govern Kenyans.
Mambo,
but Kenyans will circumvent
I wasn't talking about the laws. The laws are exactly what you say they are. And perhaps to answer your question, I should ask a question. Why do you think laws exist?
Well, President Emilio Mwai Kibaki governed us with Moi's constitution.
Okay, why do you think laws exist?
Now we have a head of state who is governing us with a new constitution, the Moi style. All I'm trying to say, they exist. They exist so that you can try to have harmony.
No, they exist because there's an innate understanding that people given an opportunity will do wrong. That is what laws do. They check you.
Yes.
Yes. But for laws to work, human beings, you saw what the Gen Zs did. You saw that one. Holding people to account. In that short period of time, you've seen what happened. Things that you didn't think would happen, happened. We saw. Why? Leaders understood, including the president, that he's being held to account. Believe me, if leaders don't know that they're going to be held to account, it doesn't matter, and you're right. How many laws we'll create? We'll create them and just circumvent them. But when you know you'll be held to account and there will be consequences, people will be a little more careful.
So are we saying, essentially, and maybe Fanya, you contribute to that, is that it doesn't matter who you put then at this axis of power. It doesn't matter who you bring in from whatever coalition, from whatever relationship, and join them and hope that no one puts them asunder. It doesn't matter. But that if you have a population of citizens who are interested in their governance, keeping these individuals to account, then those people will actually fulfill the tenets of proper governance. Is that what we're saying?
I'm saying they will have no choice because the consequences will be dire. If every time you dip your hand or you sort of like immerse your body in the cookie jar, and you know that your naked picture in the cookie jar will be made public to everybody, you wouldn't dare.
So, is there a place for citizens to keep individuals who sit in these positions accountable?
Yes, there's every space for citizens to keep these people accountable. I've always said that the prize for good democracy, for good governance, is eternal vigilance. You have to be eternally vigilant. You have to keep reminding these people why you voted for them and all. But the other suggestion I would make to especially our young people is that the government is prepared for your bodies. They are prepared with batons. They are prepared with guns. Do not throw your bodies at them again. Where they are, everything they've been doing and reorganizing and re-strategizing is all about your body. They are able to beat up your body. They bought tear gas for your body. They've done that. Let us throw brains at them. I saw one time when young people sat down and decided to send hundreds of thousands of emails to a specific email address. And that had a very bad effect. And it actually impacted more than being on the streets. So I'm urging every young person who wants to pick up this fight with the government, let us start throwing brains at them. They are not prepared for a war of the brain. And when you sit down and strategize and start the war, there's a lot you can do on your phone. There's a lot you can do on email. And the email example was one of them. They sent emails to some multinational, and those people got 1 million emails, and they couldn't move, and they had to make phone calls. I think this is the high time that we as young people start throwing at them something that they were not prepared for. Don't take your body to the street again. throw your brains at them. They are not prepared for your brains. They would have to come and hire some of your own to help them decipher how to go about it. But for now, they are restocking tear gas, they are restocking batons, they are training boots, they are buying more lorries, they are buying more water for the lorries, and so on and so forth. So my suggestion is, as much as possible, let us throw our brains at this government and they'll be confused.
Which one has more rate of success? We know going to the streets worked for this country before, and it's worked. Are you saying it's time we stopped going to the streets and started applying our brains and soft protest more? Because as a lawyer, again, you must be alive to Article 37 that allows this. Why is it that you're not calling for the implementation of Article 37 and respecting Article 37, and instead you're saying
because
try and do it a little bit
because
different?
when we go the Article 37 way, we realize that it is possible, and we believe it, for one young person to kill very many people, put them in sacks, carry them, nobody sees him, takes them to a dumping site just behind a police station, nobody has seen him, and Article 37 exists in our constitution. But when you see the kind of bodies that we saw in the areas that we saw, and when we talk of people who up to date are still missing their loved ones from Rongai and Githurai, I would hesitate to send any young person to the street. I have told you, if you listen to any young person and who was involved in the email sending na kutuma salamu ya one bob, they saw how effective that was. I remember just the other day, Senator Ledama Olekina came to Parliament and said he has been sent 300 shillings, one bob, one bob, one bob, one bob. And for the first time, a person who was hell-bent on saving governors who had been impeached was saying it is counties that impeach people. Here is Senate, we just come to help them. So what are we saying? That this other method is appearing to work more. I am coming from a constituency where my member of parliament cannot now step foot in Dagoretti South, KJ, because of things he said in parliament, and because every time he tries to come, he's getting messages on his phone.
Right.
So I'm telling Kenyans that yes, Article 37 is there, but I am deeply worried when I see that up to date, that site, you remember the following day it was closed down and it was burnt down. We are yet to know how many bodies were there. So I will not send any young person to the street today. I will tell them they are not prepared for your brain. So engage them with your brain, they will be surprised.
So the how of how that should happen, essentially, then I think is important for us to look at. What are we saying? That continue to use the mechanisms of your brain. What are we saying? Send messages to your member of parliament, to your MCA, to your governor. Send messages to your president. Or are we saying, let them know that we are watching and that what we expect you to do is to do your job and to do the right thing because of holding you accountable? What is the nature of this how?
Can you imagine Salasia waking up one day and saying he has received 39,000 shillings in the form of 1 shilling, 1 shilling, 1 shilling because of finance bill, and going and actually voting against finance bill? It tells you how effective some of these methods are. Because then it isolates the person that you target, and they know that they have an individual responsibility. Because the problem is, when they go to parliament, they become collective and they start thinking of parliament and saying, we are going to vote this particular way. But when someone knows there is eternal pressure coming from where he comes from, and there's a chance that he may not go home and have peace, that person now begins to think as an individual and begins to represent the wishes of his own people. And messages and emails is not the only way. Right. I'm only saying if we sit down and engage our brains, there is a way in which this government will be like, wait, we were prepared with tear gas canisters. These guys have come with something different, and it is causing us confusion.
You believe it's a language they'll understand?
They are understanding. It's already proven that they are understanding it. It's already been proven that they are afraid of it. As late as Kawira Mwangaza's impeachment,
right? It's
already been proven that a senator will come and say, wait a minute, before I vote, I have received 300 shillings. One bob, one bob, one bob. Of people from Meru telling me, boss, this is not the direction you're going to go.
Indeed.
Yes.
A good place to end on this morning. Thank you very much, Fanya Mambo Kinuthia, for being here this morning. I think that these are very important insights that need to be out in the open, regardless. Governance is important. We talk about the sovereignty of nations, the sovereignty of people, I think also comes into play. Thank you for being in the hot seat this morning. Until we talk again, Asante Sana.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. It's 8 a.m.